Kiki Classic Rock.
This guitarist and songwriter has worked alongside icons from Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, as well as musicians from Night Ranger and Sammy Hagar's band. From movie soundtracks and producers we all know and love, he is here to tell us some of his stories and to also talk about his new music. And we know he has to be really cool because we share the same birthday. Everyone, Robert Berry.
Hey, same birthday. Wow, there you go.
Isn't that the best? Like, I saw that. I said, oh my gosh, we are kindred spirits.
Yeah, well, we have to be a Taurus, you know?
I know, full of bull, right?
Well, they say we're supposed to be stubborn, but you know, in my business, producing artists and stuff too at the studio, I can't be stubborn. No way.
Yeah, no kidding. You got to be adaptable every second of the day.
That's right.
Well,
How
Robert,
are you?
Very good. And we totally appreciate you hanging out tonight. Now, it was very interesting as I'm looking into your history. You started really young on the business side of things. You were selling speaker cabinets, which I find fascinating because you weren't selling, you know, music. You were selling something that has to do with music. So, you know, how did that all tie into what you're doing now?
You know, I got to tell you, it was my dad that had a music store when I was little, and he was selling Vox amplifiers, which is what the Beatles used.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like 7, 8 years old, and I would see these guys come into the store. They'd buy these Vox speakers and amps, and they were some of the famous guys in the Bay Area here. And it left a big impression on me, to tell you that. This looked like a good way to go.
Yeah, well, and you did good by that. Now, do you have any of those Vox speakers now from then?
You know, my dad actually imported those from England, and he brought 3 of them over, and him and my mom drove the station wagon back home from San Francisco to, I'm in Silicon Valley, San Jose, and they had 3 in the back. One of them was too loud for a living room, but not loud enough for a concert stage to say. I still have that very first amp. I don't have the Beatle amp that he had, but I bought one just like it, the old English Super Beatle. But I still have one of those. Good question. No one's ever asked me that.
Well, that is, I mean, you have a beautiful studio. Not that I saw the whole thing, but just from some of the pictures I was creeping around to see, I'm like, oh my God, you have a dream studio.
I'm very fortunate. I've had this for over 30 years.
Wow.
Actually, I had it before I moved to England, and I took the chance of losing it to go for my big break. You know, I just had to say, look, I get to work. First of all, I was with Steve Howe from Yes, but then with Keith Emerson, I need to risk whatever it is to make my dreams come true. And luckily, I did okay. I had a hit record, and I didn't lose my studio in the meantime. So, yeah, I have the best of everything here.
Thank goodness you didn't lose that, because it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I'm sure my husband would love to just sit in there and drool because...
Oh, yeah, it's like a museum in here. I got to tell you, I have everything from my console, the 1974 Neve from England. It's the best you can get. But there's a memory Moog, there's a Moog synthesizer in here. There's old calfskin drum set. And then on the other hand, I have the latest Pro Tools and latest digital stuff at the same time. So it really is a museum.
And it must be nice because you can kind of cross them both together.
Yeah, you know, whoever comes in, I have the instruments here. From, if they want to do Motown, I have a Hammond B3. I have an old bass like they'd use with dead strings on it. If they want to do hip-hop, I have the drum loops and all the stuff. I have it all. So, I mean, I'm not bragging. It's just I love manufacturing these things for people and getting it right, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, you seem like a perfectionist, so I get it.
Yeah, you know, I am to a point. My thing is when people come into the studio or I'm working with a Keith Emerson, my thing is to give them 110% of what I have to offer. But there's also the part that comes in with teamwork. We have to give and take and compromise a little bit. And I'm actually good with that. You know, it doesn't always have to be my way. It just has to be the standard that I'm able to achieve for everybody I work with.
Yeah, I totally get that. Now, you're still in San Jose. That's where you grew up. And the first band that you did it with was Hush. Now, how did the country's, I'm obviously into radio, but how did the country's #1 FM radio station at the time, KSAN, help Hush get their start?
Boy, no one's ever asked me that because they don't know K-San from the old days, but they had a big battle of the bands. The winner was the best Bay Area band. Now, we're in the South Bay, which the San Francisco people sort of frowned on, like we had no culture.
Of
course, eBay started here, Netflix started here, Apple started here. Should I go on? It all started here. But this was late 70s, and San Francisco was still a beautiful city like it is now, and it's one of the top 10 destinations in the world, I believe. And here we are, this South Bay band competing with bands that sounded like Jefferson Starship, Jefferson Airplane, Grateful Dead, Moby Grape, all these bands that sounded more San Francisco-ish, and we sounded kind of like an English rock band. And we thought, well, there's no way we're going to win, but we'll go up there and we'll do exactly what we do, and we'll see what happens. And we won, and we got to open at Winterland, which is a Bill Graham venue, for Rush and UFO. That was our first big break, and it just started everything rolling. It was fantastic.
Holy moly. Rush and UFO, really?
Yeah, okay. Well, K-San, really? Come on.
I know, but were you in just awe of that?
I was until our set started. We were playing on stage, and Rush's crew was the sound crew on the monitors, and they let everything feed back. So our mics would squeal and stuff because they felt a band called Hush should not be on the stage before a band called Rush. It was still good. I tell you, I have more people that saw that show. It's like a 5,000-seat place, not even that big, but the music lovers were there.
Wow. So what's a cool story from that one, though?
Oh, that was really the thing that they made our life miserable on stage. We just had to kind of just forge onward and do what we do and not worried about the squealing mics and stuff. It didn't sound like that out front,
Yeah, gotcha.
But then again, it was such an honor. You got to imagine everybody was from the San Francisco area, and we weren't ourselves. And the only band from out of town, and we won. I mean, we just couldn't believe it. We're just jumping up. I see a picture. We're jumping up and down, going, what a bunch of kids like their first candy bar or something. It was just special.
Did that make you love radio even more after that?
A radio station in my hometown, San Jose, called KSJO, actually played a song off the first Hush album called Rock and Roll Babies. The first song I ever heard. The DJ's name was Lobster was on there, and then a guy named Dennis Erectus, who was like the first Howard Stern kind of guy. And they played our song, and that was really what got me excited. But to be picked the number one Bay Area band by the number one station in San Francisco, nothing could even come close to that at the time. Of course, later on, it didn't do us a lot of good. K-San went a little more underground as time went on, and the other stations got bigger and bigger.
Yeah. That's great, though. I mean, you won a radio station contest. It's just very cool. Now, Hush was signed to ASI Records, which was run by Dan Holmes and Wes Hain, who worked with the Carpenters, Brad, and Olivia Newton-John. So awesome. However, when Hush was on tour, the band truck went kaputs, and ASI kind of left you stranded. So tell us what happened that night, and did you leave ASI after that, or did you stick with them for a bit more?
We actually stuck with them. We didn't know they were having financial problems. They had put a ton of money into a band called Babyface. It was a rock band. And we left our sound man with our truck, and we rented a truck to finish our tour. We were with Triumph then, opening for them, in Black Oak, Arkansas. And so Keith, our sound man, stayed with the truck, got the motor rebuilt, drove it home. ASI was going to pay for that as tour support. We got back, and they said, just start another album. Okay, so we were excited. We started another album. They went bankrupt right in the middle of it. Now, Wes Hain, I'm still in contact with on Facebook.
Cool.
I forget where he lives now, but he was a great guy. I didn't know Dan as well as Wes, but they were good to us until they went bankrupt, of course, and then they got our second album. They put it on the shelf. We couldn't get it back. We had no contact. it was a horror story that you hear about rock bands losing control of their own material.
Yeah.
But years later, it was so long, 20 years later, I had it released in Europe as Hush 79, because that's when it would have come out. So
cool.
It still got released. Yeah.
Oh, well, that is awesome. Because, now after that, though, were your dreams shattered, and, did you put your head between your knees for a bit and say, listen, what am I going to do now? Or...
I'm, I guess, an odd fish in the business. If something doesn't work out, I want to know, what am I going to do tomorrow now to fulfill my dream? Yeah. I'm still that way today. I mean, you got to realize, in 1986, I was in a band called GTO with Steve Howe, the guitar player from Yes.
Yep.
My only experience before that was Hush. So Hush wasn't on the world stage. I was on the world stage now with GTR. Yeah. I didn't get along with the singer. He didn't like me. I got along with Steve Howe, but I didn't want to spend the rest of my life with a singer causing me trouble. So I quit. Here I am, my first really big break, and I quit because I expect better for my life than being harassed all the time.
Yeah, harassment's bad.
The next week, I was going to fly back home from England. The next week, Keith Emerson called me. That's just the way my life has turned out. I'm so lucky. So now, sure, disappointed, but I'm never discouraged.
Yeah. Well, obviously, because you've been doing this for a really long time. So you can't be discouraged if you're in the business, how many years later, a few decades, it's... Well,
Hush was 78, 79, so it's been a long time. And I'm still, right now, my new album is doing so well. It's maybe the best thing I've ever been involved in. And the reviews are honestly the best I've ever got.
Yeah.
And, I'm already working on something for next year.
That's
so
great.
I just keep going.
Yeah.
Never get discouraged, Disappointment, yes. But, yeah, you're the only one that makes your own path move forward. So you got to do it.
And definitely good words, because sometimes all of us, no matter what we do in life, we get discouraged. That is awesome from you. Now, Herbie Herbert, I'm like a girly girl here when I say his name, but he was your first manager. And the manager you had as your first manager was what he did with Journey and so many other bands. So what was it like to work with Herbie in the 80s? And did you ever do anything with Journey?
I did do something with Greg Raleigh, the keyboard player. He came down to my studio. We recorded a couple songs.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they didn't get released. I moved on to England after that. But Herbie was instrumental in getting me to look inside myself for my lyrics, like a little deeper, a little more personal. Hush didn't have a lot of personal kind of songs. They were more about things, Mm-hmm. And with Herbie pushing me to dig deeper, it really made me the right fit for so much that happened in the rest of my life. But I will say, he got me to showcase with all the major record companies in Los Angeles. He set it all up. I had the biggest guys in the world at that showcase. But after Geffen Records wanted to sign me for a solo deal, Herbie took me aside and said, look, I'm having trouble with Steve Perry. When Steve Perry says stop the world, he goes, I have to figure a way to stop the world. He goes, you're on your way. We have to part ways right now because I'm having a hard time with Journey. And this is when Steve Perry sort of, I think, got rid of Ross Valerie and Steve Smith, the drummer and the bass player, and added some new guys. I think Randy Jackson got in, right? Yeah.
That was the yep, and he's back with Journey now. That was the Raised on Radio era, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where when I sort of ended with Herbie, and it was a good thing because I wound up with Brian Lane in England, who managed Yes and Donovan and Asia, and my band Three. So again, what am I going to do tomorrow? I know what I'm doing today. If it works out, great. If I'm disappointed, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow?
Right.
And it always comes along.
Yeah, just don't let Steve Perry stand in your way, Yeah. I mean,
we're our own worst enemies at times.
Yeah, it's true. Now, you did bring up Bill Graham, the super world famous promoter. Did you ever work with him as well?
I only bumped into Bill Graham when I was playing with Sammy Hagar, and there was something going on for a show that I wasn't playing. I just showed up, and Bill Graham was there. But I didn't really know Bill. Greg Kinn, the guy I work with now all the time, he was Bill's favorite son. Greg did everything. Every show that Bill could get him, Greg would play. but I didn't really know him. But he was legendary around here.
Yep.
I mean, he is legendary anyway. But oh my God, the power! You know, my manager, Hush's first manager, tried to put on concerts in the South Bay, an hour away from San Francisco, and Bill Graham squashed it. He goes, "Nobody puts on concerts around here but me."
No kidding. Wow.
He had the power.
Dang. But you touched a lot of really cool people though in your career.
Oh my God, yeah. Surprising. I mean, I'm just a guy. I'm really in a little city called Campbell, which is in the middle of San Jose. But I have a great studio, and all the guys I work with wind up coming here. Keith Emerson, Carl Palmer, Sammy Hagar's band came through here. Ambrosia came. Everybody came through the studio when I'm working with them. I always say they do because I can, right? I can do all this, so they go, well, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I have been so fortunate because I have this stuff to offer.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good stuff. It looks like good stuff.
Yeah, it's still going on. I'm still meeting great people.
Yeah.
I'm still viable, and I can't tell you what I'm doing next year, but it's really, I am so excited about it. And of course, I already have a show booked for my 3.2.
Oh, awesome!
The third impression is the 3.2 that I have with Keith Emerson, and I have a 3.2 band featuring Robert Berry's the way we call that. So I tie it all together, and things are just moving forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. That really is great. It's nice to have our live shows coming back. We're all excited about that.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Now, 1986, that was a big year for you. And the groundwork, though, was being laid before you hopped on to GTR. In the 70s, Emerson, Lake, and Palmer, they were a supergroup made of the late Greg Lake, the late Keith Emerson, and Carl Palmer. Now, these guys, they had gold records, were the top prog rock group in the world. Then you get a call from Carl Palmer, and that was because of John Kolodner, who was the A&R guy who signed Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, Sammy Hagar, and Asia. See, everybody's so connected. Yeah. I always say that. Now, how were you connected to John Kolodner to get him to have Carl call you to join 3?
He was one of those super famous A&R guys at one of the biggest record companies in the world, and they were all there, Capitol, MGM, Geffen. All the record companies were at my showcase. Who is this new guy? We like his cassette tape at the time, and let's go see what he does. And I had just one of those magic days where my band was on fire and the songs came across. My voice was good. The lighting was good. Everything was good at this place that they usually shoot movies at. And we did our showcase, played our songs, and John Kolodner came up and said, I want to talk to you Monday. I got to have this band. And that's how I got to meet him. He was so involved and just really took me under his wing. And
it was good for you, right?
Oh, my God. Yeah. John Kolodner, once you're in with these record companies, he calls and goes, Robert, Cher's doing a TV show. She's my, proven artist. You're my new artist. You want to do the TV show with her? Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine. Okay.
Did you really do a show with Cher?
Yeah, do it like a talk show kind of thing. It was not that big a deal, but I got to do it. And
oh, no, that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Then Carl calls. Like you said, Carl calls me right here where I'm speaking to you. And he says, John played me your cassette tape. And I liked the voice. I liked the songs. And what happened from there. Here's the thing. Working with Carl Palmer and Keith Emerson, two of the greatest musicians that have ever walked the face of the earth. They play super hard music. They're technically incredible. Gives you a stamp of approval in the music business that goes far and wide.
Yeah.
It's amazing what they did. Besides playing and having a hit song with them, I was qualified on the world stage because obviously, I guess, I was capable of keeping up with those two.
Yeah. And speaking about keeping up, Keith Emerson was really known for his stage theatrics, right? In the early days. Yeah. He once played a piano, it was in midair, upside down or something, and he got hurt a lot. Did he ever talk to you about what he was doing and why he did that?
It was just what he did. Everything, it's so interesting with Keith. He was such a professional, such a perfectionist, strived to be the best and was the best. But he was an easygoing, funny, normal guy at the same time. It was like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah.
He was so focused. So when he went out to entertain, he was all in. And that's where all that came from. The piano spinning around. Meaning, I'd get a headache doing that, let alone play. Sticking the knives in the organ, pulling the organ up or on top of him. Nobody ever did that. He was the Jimi Hendrix of the keyboard players,
Yeah.
and nobody else ever did it.
Yeah. But he hurt himself, too. So it's like maybe that's why nobody did it.
At times, when you shoot off the flames and stuff out of the ribbon controller, you get burned and things. But, he didn't hurt himself as much as it was dangerous what he was doing.
Yeah.
Pulling the organ on top of him.
Yeah, I know.
You put it back up,
Now, were you able to connect with him before he passed in 2016?
Oh, yeah, we were working on the previous album. The Rules Had Changed was the reason that 3.2 happened. We had a Live in Boston CD release, an album release, from the 3 tour in Boston when we went back in 1988. And 27 years later, they released it. Keith sort of left 3 behind. He played that album when it came in, and he called me thrilled. He goes, Robert, we were a really good band. I said, well, Keith, I always thought so. He goes, no, we were on fire. We were really good. He just hadn't realized, because he got sort of criticized for playing more songs like Asia and Yes, We're Doing, which were more song-oriented and less fancy,
Yeah.
So he was so excited. I said, Keith, you want to do another one? He goes, yeah, I might. Got the record company, got the budget, got artistic control, got us a year to do it. We were 2/3 of the way through it, and we called the band 3.2 because it was the second version of 3. Carl wasn't involved in this one. It was just Keith and I.
But now, were there a lot of emotions around you finishing that album?
Well, yeah, if your listeners, the people that don't know, Keith Emerson shot himself about 2/3 of the way through that album, committed suicide, and that, I waited 27 years to do another album with him. We'd been friends and did different projects, things together. He was my funniest friend, my most famous friend, the only guy I ever had a top 10 song with. I could always count on him to crack me up with some silly video or something he's doing. He was tremendous, and he was the greatest musician to watch him play. He was at my house when he had the earthquake in 1989, and he was scared to death the whole world would cave in, and he went to my home and played my piano with all the windows open for hours, and just to listen to that, because he was scared, He thought the end of the world had come.
Yeah.
And to watch him and listen to him, he was just tremendous. And it was very hard for me to get past it. For a year, I didn't want to finish the album.
Yeah.
Then between his son, my manager, and the record company, they talked me into doing it. And I'm glad I did, because people, in the long run, the reviews were tremendous, and people were thanking me for releasing what turned out to be his last work.
Well, yeah. And as hard as it must have been for you to really get that, foot in that shoe to say, listen, I'm going to finish this. I'm going to do it. That had to be extremely emotional, difficult. You had to have your ups and downs when, before you dove back in. But the end result is so wonderful.
It was very emotional for me. The weird part was I'd spent so much time writing and playing and touring this stuff at a certain point, and then we were working on this new thing that I felt like he was still with me finishing it, because I had 10 years of piano lessons. I can play keyboards. I'm no Keith Emerson, but I can really play it. 8 years of classical piano, really tough stuff, the kind of stuff that Keith could play still.
Yeah.
And I actually found myself channeling him, inspired by him, having him sit next to me, whatever it was, after he was gone. I felt like he guided my fingers. It was the weirdest thing, because especially on the solos, I did keyboard solos like I would never play it and never had played before, but he might have done it. And it was just crazy. The new album, Third Impression, which is out now, is getting the same kind of reviews, great rave reviews, a lot of stuff that's very Emerson-ish on it, but there's one song, the last song he and I wrote together, wasn't on the Rules That Changed, the previous album, because it was too long. It's on this album. Same thing happened. I feel like he was saying, look, this is the very last thing we have, the very last thing we wrote together, my very last ideas. here's how I'd like to finish it. That's the way I felt like. It's kind of weird. I'm not that pie in the sky, oh, there's Jesus in a cloud kind of guy.
I get it.
I'm really down to earth, realistic. But there was something there, some kind of connection that just is hard to explain.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you probably can't. It's hard to put it into words, I would think.
Yeah, I really can't. Yeah, I wish I could. I should be more articulate, but it's just weird.
Yeah, no, and it had to be, like you said, you worded it perfectly. It was probably all different kinds of emotions, but Steve Howe of Yes, another icon of our time, you connected with him and you were working on the second GTR album, which never happened, but where did all of that material go?
I left GTR with a lot of the songs I wrote with Steve, but when I came back to the States here, and a friend of mine, Andy Latimer from a band called Camel, wanted to know what I had done with those songs too. And I said, well, they're still in my drawer. He goes, you should put them out. And he kept bugging me about it. So finally I put them out on an album called Pilgrimage to a Point. I had a couple of songs written for the second 3 album that didn't happen, a couple written for the second GTR album that didn't happen, and other things along the way that I'd written songs for. So I put them all on an album and put it out, called Pilgrimage to a Point, and that album is still selling today. It's crazy. That was 2002 or something. No, 90, maybe that was 92, 93, so yeah, and it's still selling. I think I have 50 orders in the last couple months.
Seriously?
Every time I put out a new album, someone goes, oh, Pilgrimage to a Point, I got to get that.
That's awesome, though. That is, I mean, it just shows you how, some things are just timeless and people just want to hear that sound. It doesn't matter when it is, it doesn't matter what decade it is, what time it is. They just want that sound.
Yeah, it's very nice because that's more what I was doing back then with the new albums, or what Keith and I decided 3.2 was going to be. What did we do back then right? What did we do back in like 87, 88 wrong? Yeah. What did we learn along the way for 27 years? And how are we going to make this viable in today's market for a progressive rock band?
Right.
And I stuck to those parameters even after he was gone, and they served me well.
Yeah, and you definitely have kept that prog rock sound. You stayed true to that for sure in this new album.
Well, that's where I got my niche market kind of thing. It's in my blood. I do a lot of different styles here at the studio. That's something that I've always loved. And, the nice thing about the internet, as much as I hate it for so many things, it has opened a lot of venues for different kind of music, folk, banjo music, kazoo music, classical, whatever it is. You can find enough fans that like it to service those niche markets. Right. And same with radio. As much as it's, hurt big radio, all these little stations that have lots of followers, lots of listeners, have been able to survive.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's true. And you're absolutely right. We're 80s kids. It's just how we grew up. But you had to learn to adjust and learn to love the internet, which has been so good to us and so good to you. Because like you said, then you find people, hey, oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Let me go and buy that record, and that's how they found out about you, was through the internet. Yeah.
Now, I'm signed with Frontiers Records out of Italy, and they do the videos, they do the release with Amazon, HMS, and Europe and all that stuff. But it's still Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where the word continues to grow, kind of.
Absolutely. And we had, I had a yellow telephone on the wall. So it's, we had the newspaper. That's, so you can deliver information so much more quickly now, which is, a good thing and sometimes a bad thing, like you said, but we'll take the good. Now, Joe Lynn Turner of Deep Purple and Rainbow and Al Greenwood of Foreigner. Carl was going to line you up with those guys. That did not happen. Did you end up working with either one of them after?
Carl and I met for the first time in New Jersey. I had never met him in person, talked to him on the phone, met the manager, Brian Lane, went to the GTR show, met Steve at it, but I had not met Carl. He said, look, I got these 2 guys lined up. We might be able to start a band. I said, yeah, who? Joe Lynn Turner. I said, you're kidding me. Oh, I love his voice. Stone Cold. Yeah. Oh, my God, I love that song. Rainbow, right?
Yeah.
Alan Greenwood, Foreigner. Come on, I love Foreigner. I'm a huge Lou Gramm fan. So I fly there, and I'm Robert Berry. He's Carl Palmer, and we walk into the hotel. We met at the airport. We took the taxi to the hotel. We walk in, go to the front desk, and here's this black guy, and he goes, "Which one of you is Arnold, and which one of you is Chuck? Arnold Palmer and Chuck Berry." Right?
I kind of love that.
We all laughed because he said Chuck Berry, And I said that to me. He goes, because I'm normally white. I'm see-through. I'm so white. He went, That was really funny. That's where Carl and I met for the first time.
That's funny.
Then we went and jammed with Jolyn and Alan, and it just didn't click. There was just something. Carl was all European and a little too fancy. They were straight ahead, down to earth rock and roll, and I was somewhere in between,
Yeah.
But it was still great. I mean, what a great experience. For my first experience with the world famous Carl Palmer, too. I mean, you got to realize I was going, damn, this sounds like my big break's come along here. I got to really step up. I got to make sure I'm ready for all this,
Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's crazy, really. And another connection you have is with the band Boston through your friend Gary Peel, who you worked with in Alliance in '97. And he suggested you as Boston's new drummer, but you didn't take it. And I'm like, what? Like, I get what you said, but you can tell the story. But I'm like, why wouldn't you even just, you know what? Let me just try it. Let me just do it.
I don't know where you're getting your information, but you're digging deep here, girl. I'm going to have to find out. You working for the FBI, the CIA, or what?
Sorry.
Man, you better apologize.
Sorry.
No, I tell you what, when Alliance is in next month to do our fifth album, Gary will be coming in.
Are you serious?
So we're still working together. Yeah.
Oh, man.
When I send songs to Gary, see, I play a lot of instruments, and I have a studio. So when I write a song, I record it. It's just the way it is.
Yep.
I do a demo. Gary evidently had played my demos for Tom Scholz. Tom Scholz liked the way I played drums. I like the way Robert plays drums in your demos for Alliance. Get him out here. So Gary calls. I forget the first time was a ways back because my son, who's 26 now, had a little kid's drum set. He was about 8, and I was practicing at home the Boston songs as a little kid's drum set. So, Gary, I don't know. I've never played drums in a band. Tom likes the way you play drums. You really ought to come out. He doesn't like a lot of people, that play the drummers. I said, oh, man. He goes, and you can sing those high notes, like, okay. There's a super high part in Boston. I could do that. So I said, I'll try. So I practiced on the little kid's drum set. I've never told anybody that, but you, I swear.
You literally sat at a child's drum set.
I sat on because I had to do it at home because at the studio I'd be working, and.
Okay, but wait a minute. Is there a picture of you doing that? Because that would be priceless.
No, there's no
Darn
pictures.
it.
No, yeah, and that drum set's gone now because he gave up drums. But
well, thank goodness, right?
Yeah. Well, he's still a musician. He's got a little studio of his own and stuff, so he's really going for it.
Oh, that's cool.
I practiced and I went, you know what? I can do this. I can sing those high parts and play drums. Called Gary back. Well, Gary, I can do it. I said, I think you guys need a world-class drummer, not some guy that's never played drums in a band. Now, I play drums in the studio every week, but that's different.
Right.
You can stop. You can punch in record in the middle of the song. Wherever you want, you can stop. But on the stage, you can't stop.
Nope.
So I flew there. I auditioned. And the crazy thing was that Tom has the drums on this 4-foot-high drum platform. And this because he has a setup like they do on the stage.
Yep.
So it's these huge drums, this huge drum platform, and the whole band comes in and pulls out their chairs and they sit down. And I don't know if you ever remember, the first day of school in a new classroom or a new school where you don't really know anybody and you walk in and it's just uncomfortable at first, right? So here I am, 4 feet in the air in this big drum set and everybody's sitting on chairs. So I'm like 8 feet above them, right?
Oh, no.
And we started playing and Tom's amp burned out in the middle of the first song and he grabbed it and he threw it. And Brad Delp, who was alive then, said, hey, man, come in the kitchen. He goes, sits me down, gets me a coffee. He goes, when that happens, you just have to get out of the room. Tom's really touchy about the equipment because he designs his own equipment. So it makes him really mad when it doesn't work. I said, okay. I'm like wide-eyed going, what the hell? And Gary, who's a genius, is in there fixing it because he knows how to build amplifiers.
Oh, my gosh.
Get it fixed. I go back in and play some songs. And afterwards, Tom goes, well, you did okay. I said, Tom, honestly, I'm here because you wanted me here. And Gary said, you really should do it. But you need a world-class drummer. Come on. I mean, I could probably do this, and I wouldn't embarrass you, but I'm not a world-class drummer. You know, you guys deserve a John Bonham, whoever, some big-time drummer. And which they decided they did too. But that was my first experience. Evidently, I did pretty good because he called me then, like, maybe 8 years ago, 10 years ago. I'm so bad with time because I'm always looking to tomorrow. Like I said, what am I going to do tomorrow to be successful? But he called again and says, hey, Tom did like that audition you did. He wants you to come back. I said, oh, Gary. No, I didn't. I couldn't cut it before. Why? You cut it. He says you cut it before. Just they thought they had this other guy, Curly, who was an amazing drummer, that already knew the song, so they thought that'd be a safe way to go. Okay, I'll come out.
So you went again.
And, it was the same thing. I said, I can do it. In fact, we did Smokin' first. Tom came in. The three of us played Smokin'. I was saying, Smokin', the high vocal. I'm doing, and he goes, hey, Sixie goes, that was good. Thumbs up, right? I'm going, oh, geez. I said, I can do it, Tom, but really, you guys need a world-class, come on. You've had some of the greatest drummers. And he says, well, we have to go out in 3 weeks. The tour dates have moved up. I said, there's no way I could be ready. I have to eat, live, and breathe this for 8 weeks to be really ready. So he said, okay, well, we'll get somebody else. But I did it again,
Jeez, you went back for a second time.
Well, it's such an honor because Tom Scholz is a genius.
Oh, yeah.
He made that Boston sound all by himself. He brought that thing together.
In his basement.
He controls everything. It's like a badge of honor. And I just couldn't say no. I should have. But Gary says, no, you got to come out again. He really liked the first audition, 10 years ago. Okay.
And what did Gary say to you after?
Gary said, I said, Gary, I know you guys do better. He goes, well, you're not the worst drummer we've had, and you're not the best.
Well, all right. Well, at least he was honest. Okay. And you did only have 3 weeks. Yeah. So I get it.
You need the best. Come on. Exactly. I can do it, but why settle for that?
But dang, you had a second go around to be in Boston. That's insane.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
It is just great. And I got to tell you, Ambrosia, I'm driving my husband. I've been driving him nuts the past several months with Ambrosia music. That's all I listen to, literally every day.
Oh, wow.
And you were in Ambrosia. So what felt right about you? You going from prog rock and then you're auditioning for Boston twice. And then you go to Ambrosia, which is like a yacht rock band, really. Now that's, kind of what their sound is. So
that's the one piece that most people miss with Ambrosia is when they started, because Hush opened quite a few shows for Ambrosia in the old days.
Oh, wow.
They had a song called Life Beyond L.A., which was progressive. They had Somewhere I Never Traveled that was progressive. They had even Holding On to Yesterday was in that time. They were a sort of progressive band, and they were the band for Alan Parsons' The Raven, that album, that first one he did.
No kidding.
Yes, they were the backup band. So they were like a Pink Floyd kind of progressive band.
Wow.
So when they wanted me to join, or they wanted me to sing with them to try it out, first of all, because a friend of theirs said what I had done. I had never done the Blue-Eyed Soul stuff before. But as in Boston, smoke it, I can sing that high stuff, right? So, make a wish, baby.
Oh, my God.
I went, wait a minute, I can do that. Now make it come true. I can do that voice. I went, wait a minute, I can sing up there. So I joined. They gave me a week to get ready for the first show. I only had 6 songs to sing. It was a 3-hour drive from here to there. Well, I'll meet you there. So, okay. No rehearsals, okay. And I went in, and I just loved it. Did the couple progressive songs. Did Biggest Part of Me. Did She's the Only Woman, or You're the Only Woman. I forget what it is now. Holding On to Yesterday. And I loved it. And I've never been in a better band, better guys in my life. It was just, everybody was so good. And 2 years later, I still couldn't get him to do a new album and write any songs and really put myself on the map. And I was doing like 2 gigs a month. So in between, we'd fly to Chicago and wherever, 2 gigs on the East Coast. Then I'd fly home and work. So for those 3 weeks, I had to keep my voice in really good shape. I couldn't get sick. I had to sing the songs. They were so high. It took so much effort to stay healthy for that finally I just said, guys, I can't hang with this anymore. It's just, it's too hard. Without a new album, there's no reason for me to do it. I don't want to just sing hits like I'm a tribute band,
Yeah.
So, I hate to say this, but my artist here, Rudy, is waiting for us because they told me this would be 10 minutes, and you know everything. I've been talking to you so long. I'm not sure if I can keep going much longer.
Can I just ask you a couple more things, and then I'll leave you alone. I'll let you back to your life. Listen, we have the same birthday, so we like to talk, right?
There you go.
Greg Kinn. Tell us about Greg Kinn, working with him. I mean, he's awesome. 80s Greg, big stuff, Jeopardy. I mean, how is it, working with him? I
will tell you, not only do we have the same birthday, you and me, but every Thursday from 11 to 2:30, 3 o'clock, Greg Kinn is in and we write and we work toward the next album. And he was in this morning.
Oh.
We got a couple songs, so we're working on a few, finishing them up because it'll be a release in about 4 months of some new singles. And he is fantastic. What was nice for me, the music is super easy. It's all based on the rhythm. His son is a fantastic guitar player, took lessons from Joe Satriani.
Wow.
And it's just easy, and the songs are good. I just love doing it because I don't have to think so much. Most of the music I'm doing is really, it's hard, and it takes a lot of rehearsal and a lot of, like with Ambrosia, to keep the muscles of the voice and everything else going.
Right.
With Greg, it's just like having a party. Like playing the ZZ Top, let's just have fun.
Now, are you guys going to be going out, or?
Yes, we're right now working on new gigs, and actually the first one came in was in Buffalo in October or something. They go, okay, well, get us some more gigs around there, and we'll fly out and do them.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Well, hopefully you come over here to near Rhode Island, and we can meet up. That would be really cool. Now, tell everybody where we can get 3.2. The rules have changed.
Well, the rules have changed, and Third Impression, which is the last. There's 3 albums to the 3 name, even though the second 2 are under the 3.2 name. They're on Amazon. You can get them directly from Frontiers, which is in Italy, if you want an import. And you can check that all on my website. Just go to robertberry.com, and everything's on there. I'm not a good salesman. I'm all about the music, but there's T-shirts for it. There's vinyl, which I got the rights back from the company to do vinyl because this project is so important to me that I really wanted to have albums, 12-inch albums. So that's on the website, too. If they like 12-inch vinyl, I'm selling them cheap. I don't make money. They're $25, where people are selling vinyl for $45 usually,
Yep.
And I just had to do it all, and it's happening.
Well, that is awesome. Again, hopefully, everybody keep track of Robert, robertberry.com, Greg Kinn, I think gregkinn.com too, see when they're going out, when Robert's going to go out, his music and everything. Happy anniversary to you and your wife. And we
thank you.
Appreciate you sharing some really awesome stories with us. And guys, you can follow Robert on Instagram at Berry Songs. And again, robertberry.com. And best of luck to you, your new album, everything you're doing. And every year you celebrate your birthday. You can just imagine me going, hey, it's my birthday too.
I'm going to think of you. And also when I see the CIA on TV is researching and getting into people's business, I'm going to say, I wonder if I'm going to see Kiki on there because you dug deep into some things. I got to tell you.
Well,
you asked me a few things no one's ever asked me. That was really cool.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. I mean, I do a lot of research, so I'm glad. It was great talking to you, and I appreciate your time, and everyone else does too. And best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much. I'll be speaking to you next year. I got another thing coming down the pipe, and I'm thinking you're going to really like it. It's going to be good.